You often hear stories of game developers working through tough conditions to meet release date deadlines. This is known as crunch, and it's become a huge problem in the games industry in recent years. And now developers of the indie hit Night in the Woods have shared their thoughts on crunch and what they think needs to be done about it.
Night in the Woods co-creator Scott Benson spoke at the 2018 Game Developers Conference, revealing how he almost worked himself to death to finish the game. In a follow-up interview with GamesIndustry.biz, the outlet asked Benson and his co-writer Bethany Hockenberry about that comment. The pair laughed about it, with Benson saying he finds it funny and Hockenberry saying, looking back at it, all you can do is laugh about it and try and avoid doing the same thing again. Games Industry then asked the pair if Developers Union would stop employers working developers to death. What is there to stop developers from doing it to themselves? Games Industry noted Benson's mood change abruptly at the question, and he took on a more serious tone. Benson said, quote, "The reason we're killing ourselves isn't because we love what we're doing. That's the thing that we tell ourselves and tell people. We're just so passionate about it. But I'm passionate about a lot of things and don't kill myself over them. The reason we're killing ourselves is money and deadlines."
Well, it's not always money and deadlines, and we're going to go into this next little bit and watch what happens. The duo explained they were under pressure when developing Night in the Woods because the game was kickstarted, and this meant they were accountable to the backers. When the Kickstarter campaign for Night in the Woods started, the developers gave an estimated release date of January 2015, but they eventually had to delay the game, and it ended up coming out in February 2017. Benson elaborated on delays, saying, quote, "Particularly in games, when you announce a release date, if you go back on that, people treat it as a mortal sin. So some of it is that, but a lot of it is that we had to hit a deadline and didn't have a lot of money to throw at it. So most of crunch stuff is that someone's done very poor planning, which is in part on us because we hadn't done it before. But beyond that, it's a cultural thing. We work hard, that's who we are. We're hard workers, and working hard is fine. But it's in this notion of proving ourselves and our worth and our seriousness by killing ourselves." Hockenberry then points out that people tried to put a positive spin on the overworking of developers by calling it passion rather than desperation. She said, quote, "We really want to try next time to not do that to ourselves or anything we work with, and to let people know, don't do this." I feel like this is quite relatable for anybody that's worked in retail or hospitality, pubs, factories, anything like that. You've all probably had a time where you were supposed to clock off, you're supposed to go home, your supervisor, your team leader, your boss comes up to you, "Oh, you couldn't just do a couple of extra hours." Technically, a couple of times when I worked in a pub, I broke the law, I'd done 14-hour shifts. That's the sort of thing that game developers, lots of people in lots of different jobs do this, and that sort of mentality of you being a hero and a hard worker is a little bit of camaraderie normally between the people that are other factory workers, other barmen and stuff like that. You know, the joke like, "Oh, you're only doing a 10-hour shift, you're a part-timer." It's toxic behaviour to some people. To others, it's a bit of lightheartedness about, making it feel a bit better that what you're doing is essentially illegal. And I think that that's kind of what game developers get into a lot. They're like brave heroes, sacrifice and stuff, but a lot of the time it's down to that. They're extending themselves, sometimes due to deadlines, sometimes due to money. But I think a lot of the time it's just like people that work 14 hours in pubs. They just don't say no. They just don't want to say, "Guys, we are delaying this game," because they're scared of it being seen as a mortal sin. And half of it's down to outside issues, but half of it's down to just cutting off yourself. And when you're like passionate about a game and it's nearly done, 80% done, I can see why you might want to really push it.
I mean, what they say there about planning is quite notable, right? Because they were a Kickstarted project and they'd planned for a certain length of production.
Yeah.
However, they were inexperienced and they didn't know how long it would take. It ended up taking more than 2 years longer in the end. So having promised that delivery date for the product to the Kickstarter fans, it's always going to be a bit dubious when you promise something of a creative nature like that. Other Kickstarter projects, if it's just putting together a drone or something, if it's something other than like making a game, it might be easy to deliver on the delivery date. But obviously they learnt a lot going into that, and it kind of raises a question for me. If you're backing a game on Kickstarter, what pedigree did this game development studio have? Have they done it before? Have they planned before? Do they know everything that's involved? These guys didn't, and they felt the brunt of that to the point of killing themselves. That's the way they described it. So whether that responsibility or that burden comes from needing to deliver on what you've promised, or from your bosses or someone asking you to do additional job, what's certain about it is that you know, don't put your health in danger for something like this. But how hard is it? How easy is it? I think it's kind of accepted in the games industry that you're going to have to work a crunch. Like that's part of it. Yeah. As if you're going to be a game developer, crunch is part of it. But why should it be? Why should that be part of your job description when everybody else in other industries don't have that?
And that's what they're saying. Let's find out more.
Benson also said crunch is a form of exploitation and the only way it will stop is through labour laws and unionisation. Benson said, quote, "No executive's going to say, man, I just hate making money. I hate this. Maybe I can just give it back to the people I work for and maybe the game can come out next year sometime." No one is going to do that. There is no opposing force to that isn't someone producing that value they're using to buy a yacht. There's no other place that this could come from. Benson also revealed he's been in talks with other indie developers about ways they can look out for each other, but such efforts are still in their infancy.
Overall, Benson and Hockenberry just want things to improve for people, and they think unionisation is the best way to go about it. Benson ended the interview saying, quote, "I think new models of this have to be made because people are going to die. People die from overwork, marriages get ruined, people never see their children. That's all bad, but we consider it good. Like, yeah, you sacrificed. Why? F***ing why?"
Obviously, they're very passionate about this, and I mean, have you been through that type of situation yourself? A lot of crunch. Maybe you'd be feeling the same, but unionization is something that seems like an obvious omission from the games industry, right? Why aren't they unionized by now? Why are people being made to work through these conditions or being expected by their employers to work through these conditions just because it's games?
It's as simple as the fact that factory workers have unions because people died in factories, lots of them. The games industry is still quite a new thing, so because not many people have died, no one is making a union about it. We were talking about SAG-AFTRA, we've talked about them before. That's the Screen Actors Guild, I think. They're the voice actors and actresses, and they went on strike. They did a big strike, loads of games were affected by it. The Life is Strange sequel couldn't have the original actors, and all that. And that was unionisation at work, and they actually had better working conditions and better pay, you know, grown out of that, as a result. So it looks like developers could be forging their own path to success with this as well, and the Night in the Woods developers seem to want to be championing that, and they say that they are in talks with people about it, but it is very early days. People not killing themselves because of their work is only a good thing. In any job, any walk of life, you don't have to be a game developer to understand and empathise with this. And surely, even you, me, you, we've all had a game delay and gone, for f***'s sake. But it's never like, I'd rather the developers just died than give it us late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It sometimes feels like that's what's going to have to happen for anyone to take notice and think, hang on a minute, they shouldn't be working under these conditions and have to crunch because, you know, like you say, I mean, people have died in factories and that's why they changed the laws, right? And that's why they have unions and shit. So can people actually die crunching games? Maybe you don't think so, but being put in these conditions and having to work long hours without any decent breaks and without getting proper R&R, which everybody needs, right? Maybe that's what it's leading up to. Maybe that's what will happen. And some people out there might say, oh, it's their choice to do this as a living, but it's not acceptable in other, you know, workplaces and things. And so why should it be acceptable in games just because they choose to do a creative job? It doesn't make sense to me. It feels like, you know, they need to be looked after more, that's for sure. They make the games that we love, don't they, Jake?
Games
we need to look after those devs, man.
Might not just die.
If the publishers can curl up and die, it's the devs you've got to look out for, guys.
They might be murdered.
That took us seriously.
So, overworked indie developers have spoken out against harsh working conditions. Do you think this is going to change anything, or do you think it'll be stamped out by greedy shareholders? What do you reckon? Why don't you let us know in the comment section below. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new around here. There's more content on the screen just here. There's also a link to our Patreon if you want to support the channel. We'll see you in the next video.